Olá, boa tarde, tudo bem, tudo certo? I will say, unfortunately, that is going to be the end of the Portuguese part of this session. I do speak a little bit of Portuguese, and if you guys want to try out my skills later, I recommend you do it after about 2 caipirinhas, and I'll be fluent. That'd be great. So my name is Joe Hunter, as they said. I'm really excited to be here to talk to you guys about redesigning production. It's something that's very close to our hearts at Method. And just to get an idea, how many people here are aware of Method and or Ecover? Okay. So the guys in the front row, everybody behind you has their hands up. It's amazing. So that's good. We don't sell products in Latin America today. We sell in North America, Europe, and Asia. But what we do, we produce naturally derived cleaning products, and we have a heavy focus on design and sustainability. So products made from naturally derived ingredients, and as you can see, it's these products here. And I am the Director of Packaging and Development, but more importantly, I am Pack Daddy. And that's my title at Method. We all have fun titles that we use, and that one is mine. So we have a lot of other interesting ones too. If you've ever met anybody from the company, you would have seen that. So I talked a little bit about what we do. Who we are. You've seen some people here talk about B corporations. We are a certified B corporation. As of last year, we became Method Products, PBC. And it was a really good partnership. It's something we're really excited about. It is, committing us to our sustainability efforts on top of all the things that we are already doing with our products and with social causes. So I think Sistema B is going to be here tomorrow. But we're really excited about the stuff we do with those guys. And we're also a cradle-to-cradle company, which we've talked about and saw here today. We have over 100 products that are cradle-to-cradle certified at the silver or gold level. So that's a little bit about the company. What I really want to talk to you guys about, and what most of this speech is about today, is about redesigning production and what we've done in that space. And so we have a long history with the Ecover side of the company with responsible manufacturing. And now what we're doing on the Method side of the company in North America, and what we just built, is what we call the Southside Soapbox, which is what you see here. We built this factory in January. It went up. This is actually a rendering of it, but it's in the south side of Chicago, and it looks as good or better than what you see in this picture, which is really kind of an amazing accomplishment. It's a beautiful factory. And it's amazing features that we have built into it. So I'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. So when we went to build this factory, we had mindful manufacturing. It goes right along with everything we do with our products and with the philosophy of our company. And we wanted to build that into the plant. And we wanted to make the most sustainable, most efficient, and most kick-ass plant that we could possibly make. And that's exactly what we did. And so one of the first things that we thought about when we went to go make this plant was it's a manufacturing facility that's going to be using a lot of energy. Manufacturing in general is, that's the case with that. So we wanted to use as little energy as we could, and the energy that we did use, we wanted to generate that in a sustainable way. And so the factory that we're running there that started in January is running on 50% wind and solar power, which is really incredible for the factory. The other thing that's really good about the factory, and that is a really big sustainability aspect of our company, is that the bottles that we use are 100% PCR PET. And as you guys know, in Brazil, there's a lot of challenges with using 100% PCR. We had a lot of challenges ourselves when we started to use it, but it's a huge thing that we do, and we're really, really excited about it because it reduces our carbon emissions by 70% in the production of resin, virgin versus PCR. And on top of that, when we built the factory, we brought in Amcor, our bottle maker, to live on site at the plant with us. And so that further reduced our carbon emissions. And you can imagine the supply chain that we had for the bottles, we're sending them all the way across the country in the United States empty to have them filled in another location. So we took our supply chain from our bottles from 1,000 miles down to 1,000 feet, which was incredible and a huge reduction in emissions, and it went right along with the work we were doing with the bottles and the PCR that we were using. The wind energy. We have a really beautiful wind turbine that's sitting in our yard, and on the south side of Chicago, it's really something to be seen because there's not a lot of big buildings. So as you're driving down the highway, you see our wind turbine, and it has method, people against dirty on the side of it, and it's just a really nice thing to have there. And it produces 600 kilowatts of energy for us in the plant. So it's by far the biggest producer of sustainable energy for us. In addition to that, we have 3 solar trees in the parking lot, and those solar trees are generating a little over 45 kilowatts of energy as well. And we actually just saw something recently here too, that the solar hot water heater is something we have that we just talked about a moment ago. And it's a 120-gallon solar hot water heater that's providing warm water to the bathrooms and for bathing in the locker rooms as well. Energy efficiency, besides where the power that we're generating from the windmill and from the solar trees, we also have energy efficient lighting. So the lighting that we're using in there is all LED and T5 fluorescent. But the really good thing about it is that we don't have to use a lot of that lighting because this plant is really unlike anything else I've ever been in. And as an engineer working in a lot of plants, I see tons of manufacturing facilities. This one's very clean and it's very bright. We have skylights that let all the light flood into the building, so you don't really even have to use that much light, and you get a really nice feel that's not the same thing that you're used to seeing in a production facility. We also have a connection with J.B. Hunt for our trucking fleet, which uses 20% minimum of biodiesel, which is a direct correlation to the reduction in carbon emissions, another 20% reduction for that fleet. Now this part is one of the most exciting parts, I think. It's really interesting. It's something that's never been done before to this scale, and it's a green roof. And what we did was we worked with a company called Gotham Greens, and we basically leased out half of our rooftop to them, 75,000 square feet. I apologize, I don't have the number in metric, but it's very big. And we have them up there with a hydroponic system growing leafy greens for the Chicago area. And so they're up on our rooftop. They can produce 500,000 tons of leafy greens for the community every year. Now, if you look at the south side of Chicago, it's actually considered a food desert. So there's not a lot of food resources down there, and what that means is that there's not a lot of resources to find food, and not in a very cost-effective manner. So they don't really have access to easily to get healthy food. And so we're providing that to local markets, we're providing it to local restaurants, and they're operating as a separate company, but on site with us as well, the same way that we have with the bottle supplier. The other thing is the efficiencies that we get out of having this greenhouse on top of the roof. If we were to do it with a traditional farm, it would use 20 times more land and 10 times more water. So it's an extremely efficient process. It doesn't take a lot of people. It doesn't take a lot of natural resources to do it. So it really is an amazing thing. And it's actually not quite finished yet. It will look like what you saw there, but they're just finishing the finishing touches on that, and it'll be up in the next few months. That's actually a picture of the windmill. It doesn't do it justice because it's a little bit close, but that's what it looks like. So our historic home, we're on the south side of Chicago. We're in the Pullman district, and the Pullman district is a very impoverished area. It's a very poor area. It used to be a site of a lot of manufacturing. They made rail cars there. There was this whole community. It's a really rich history, and it's just been neglected for a very long time. And we wanted to move into that area because we could have very easily dropped our plant right down in the middle of a cornfield, and it would have been a lot cheaper. It would have been a lot easier to find a location for it. But that's not the philosophy that we had. That's not what we wanted to do. We've heard this two or three times over the last couple days. In Brazil alone, I heard you guys have 85% of your country living in an urban area, in a city. It's much less in other areas, but we also heard, what I have here, 70% globally will be in cities by 2050 or maybe even sooner. And we want to be where the people are. We want to be where we can provide to the local citizens, and we can provide to the local markets. And that's the best way that we can do that. We can hire local people. It's not easy in the city for people to go far away to areas that are not accessible. And so this way we can have a plant that's right by the people. And then livable landscaping. So because the area has been neglected for so long, the land has been neglected actually as well. And so we have a very large lot, 22 acres, and we're only using 3.5 of those currently for the plant. And the rest of that area, we're bringing back the natural habitat there and the natural landscaping and making it so that it's more habitable by animals and stuff. So now we have geese and fox and all sorts of animals that are coming back to that area that have been gone for a very long time because there hasn't been any place for them to live there. It really has been neglected. And then the community, again, this goes in a little bit more depth into the community, but there's an area down there that people don't have jobs. It's very poor. They don't have a lot of access to good jobs that pay well and that are going to help them advance their careers. And so we wanted to have a positive impact on that. And so what we did as a commitment was, again, we could have, the same way that we could have put the plant in somewhere in the middle of a cornfield, we could have easily hired people who've worked in manufacturing out in Chicago or the areas outside of where we put the plant. But we really wanted to have a connection to the community. And so we committed to hiring people from the area that the plant was in, within 2 zip codes. And most of the people are living right in that area. They can walk to work. They have easy access. They can take a bus. They can easily take public transport. But they're right there in that area, and they see that we're committing to helping that area and make it better and bring it back some life, and that we're committed to that by hiring the people that live there too. And they're also in a residential neighborhood, so they have access to banks and grocery stores and everything very close by that they wouldn't have if they were out, in the middle of a farm or a suburban area. And of course, like being a sustainable company, making sustainable products, we're building a plant from the ground up. We wanted to use sustainable materials. And so what we did was we looked to find the highest degree of recycled materials that we could when we went to build the plant. And 20% of those materials we found within 500 miles of the area where the plant was being built. And so that was a big effort that we made, and it was done in a very short period of time. The other thing we wanted to do was make sure we had good indoor air quality. Again, we've heard some of this here just recently, but all the paints and all the adhesives and all the flooring and everything that we used, we wanted to make sure that was going to have very low VOCs, so we wouldn't have to worry about air quality in the plant. It was a safe and healthy place for these people to be working. And so we did that, and it is really a great thing to be able to say that. And it went into our lead platinum certification as well. We also wanted to be zero landfill. That kind of went without saying. That was not negotiable at all. We were going to be a zero landfill facility. And as we still get the operation up and going, we're working towards figuring out what types of waste we would be generating and figuring out how to handle it. So we are going to be zero waste, and as we figure out the operation, we're finding places that if it doesn't go into the product, it's going to go to either a recycling facility or it's going to be composted. And then education. So you can imagine we put all this effort and all of this love into the plant to make it as really reflective of what our company is, and we wanted to make sure that we could share that with other people in the community. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do all that stuff in there and do all this amazing stuff for the community and put this all into our products and not be able to share that with people in the community and when they're interested and kind of teach them about why it's important. And so we set up a way to have visits and tours, and we worked a curriculum with local schools so that we can bring them in there and we can tell them about generating renewable energy, why it's important and why it's the right thing to do, and about hydroponic farming and how that is really doing a lot of good for us and for the community. And so we have this program where we can bring in students and show them about what we're doing and why it's important. And then also we have a connection to the community, a very good connection to the community. I spent the last week, I was there the entire week and meeting a lot of people, and it's a really great facility. And if you go to most manufacturing plants, you find that there's a huge fence around them. They're like a black box. You can't see inside. They don't want you to see inside. And we want to do the exact opposite, and we did. So if you come down to the south side of Chicago, and I invite you guys, if you're ever in Chicago, to come take a look and check it out, we don't have a fence around it. It's open to the community. It's part of the community. It's treated as like a park. And we actually have landscaping there that people can enjoy on the premises. But you can walk right up to the plant, and you can walk right in, and we have a very transparent, because our company is transparent to begin with on the inside and outside, but you can walk right up into the lobby, and you can look through this glass window, and you'll see bottles of soap going down the line getting produced. And so we encourage people to come and see and learn in our facility. And then I mentioned a moment ago, we said lead by example. The facility that we built is LEED Platinum. It's the first of its kind in the industry. It was a very tough thing to do for us because LEED in the United States is something that's used very commonly with schools and office buildings, and not so common with manufacturing sites. And it's very difficult to get that type of certification because of the amount of resources that we're using in the plant. But we were able to do it, and we're really proud of that. That's one of the things we really like to showcase about it. And then this is a common theme we've heard over the last 2 days a lot, which I was glad to see. We work with water a ton in a manufacturing site, even just a manufacturing site that's not making soap. And then we're making products that have a high degree, very high percentage of water in them. And so we were talking about, somebody I think yesterday was talking about virtual water exports. And we'll talk a little bit about in a moment here how we're helping to offset that. But the first thing we tried to do was the water that we do use, we want to make sure we can recycle anything in the process. So any extra water that is in our process that's used in the sinks and the bathrooms, we will recycle that in our facility and process it in an on-site water processing unit and recycle it back into our products. We have water-saving plants. So the crops, I've talked about how we kind of replenish some of the crops in the local area, and we took the cover crops and we made it so that they would be drought resistant and that they would put water back into the watershed. And then lastly, my time's out here. We wanted to keep the Great Lakes great. We're in the Great Lakes area, and we're pulling from their watershed. And so what we did was we worked with a partnership with the Nature Conservancy, and we were able to work with farmers and give them financial support to be able to find ways to use handle their crops in a way that they wouldn't have water runoff and they wouldn't have the fertilizer runoff and losing the water from that area and having it deplete the watershed. And so we work with them to find ways to save water in their farming practices. And through that, we can save 30 million gallons of water over the next 5 years. And that's about the amount of water over the next 5 years that we'll use in our products. So that's it for me. Thank you guys. Muito obrigado. E bom dia para vocês.